Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. I'm your host, Jared Moon. The Garage Gym Athlete Podcast is a result of my desire to build better humans, unequivocal coaches, and autonomous athletes. I've spent the last several years obsessing over program design, nutrition, and every other way you can optimize human performance. This podcast distills the latest scientific research with what I've learned and blends it with the not-so-scientific field of mental toughness. We are here to build you into a dangerously effective athlete. If you enjoy this podcast, you can find out more about our training at garagegymathlete.com. And if you want to pursue more into the field of coaching and programming, head to endof3fitness.com. Thanks for listening. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. Jared Moon here with Joe Courtney. What's up, Joe?
Always here. What's up?
Yeah, you are. And Kyle, what's up, man?
Not always here, but most of the time.
That's his middle name, Kyle, not always here from.
And Ashley, not here today at all.
Right.
But I'll represent for her when we get to the study. So keeping it real, Ashley. All right, guys. How's life? Joe, you got anything?
Yeah, I got ring rash again.
We should really dive into this.
Let's talk about that.
Of course.
I thought you got something that eliminated that, or like.
Well, it's not ring on my finger rash. It is rings from doing ring dip rash on the outsides of my arms, like rug burn.
Yeah, that happens to me almost every time I do ring dips.
Yeah. So my last update was, hey, I got rings. I'm excited. And now my arms are all torn up because I did 180 of them or whatever it was, that Marco program. So yeah.
You got too excited.
Yeah. I mean, I was just, and man, they go quick sometimes.
I don't know, to be honest. I'm sure if anyone listening has a way to like remedy that. I've never looked into it or even tried to figure it out. I just have always been like, you know what? When I do ring dips, I get cuts on my arms. That's what happens.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind it if I do them enough. Like when I was doing my sexy Saturdays all the time, I'm pretty sure the outsides of my arms were just calloused and it was fine. But the only way I can think of is either wear sleeves or you spread them out. But I don't like them spread out because then they're harder to control. They're harder to keep in. So I actually have them pretty skinny so that they do rub against them. Which, whatever.
Well,
what if you wear the Garage Gym Athlete rash guard from the Spartan races?
Because I don't.
That was his long
something
sleeve.
with sleeves. Yeah, something with sleeves.
That's what I'm saying. Like, why don't you just do that?
Well, I don't need to wear a compression shirt every time I want to do dips.
It's called a rash guard.
Don't they have just
Guards
forearm
against rash.
sleeves?
They have like actual sleeves that like basketball players wear over their elbows and stuff like that. But I don't care that much.
Well, we're in problem solving mode, Joe.
Yeah, so true. I'm sorry.
Instead, we just get to hear about it on the podcast.
I'm just turning into skid.
Well, when you brace your arm up against the rope, it gives you that stability. So yeah, chains are the answer.
All right, chain dips.
There it is.
Yeah, hang your rings from chains. I'm glad that I just solved that problem for you.
Fantastic. Not adjustable at all, but that's fine.
No, it is adjustable. You just, if you have like a carabiner, you can just like different links.
There we go.
Height. There it is.
That's
Kyle,
it.
how's life?
Life is good. No rash over here, but I did get some new gym toys, which is fun. Even though Rogue did not have the gym toys that I wanted, they had some of what I wanted, but not all of them. And surprisingly, they got here really quickly. Like the shipping was really fast. I was shocked. I mean, they got here in the amount of time they would normally have gotten here instead of like, Rogue has like a 5 to 7 day disclaimer at the top of their website on every page on their website. So, anyway, got a new Go Ruck, got the Speed Rucker, the one with the reflective strip. Thought that might be important. I don't know. Got Hannah her own jump rope. So in case we're both jumping rope at the same time.
You don't have your kids like just take one long one and do like double dutch or whatever?
Man.
Just 2 in 1?
We may try that and video that. I think that might be some good content. It could go pretty well. We are considerably taller than they are, though.
Just stand on your boxes. Stand on your plyo boxes.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. That would be fun. I'm sorry. I'm imagining what that would look like. Got her own jump rope, got a sandbag, a Rogue sandbag with 4 of the filler bags. So we've got some variety in the weights we can put in there. And then got some new aluminum collars for the barbells, which are pretty nice instead of the old spring collars that we had. So got some new toys. Excited about it. Excited to try them out. Especially Hannah's on shred track, so she's doing rucks and sandbags and stuff like that for that already. So she's excited about that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, she did her first ruck for shred track, and she was like, all right, we need to get a better backpack. So let's do that. I was like, okay, I know where to get one.
I guess it's me.
It's you.
All
Jared,
right.
do you have any updates?
I do. I have one update. I'm joining Joe in the homelessness
It's
world.
spreading. It's a disease that's spreading.
Yeah. So I am moving again, which might surprise some people. I'm headed to the great state of California. No, I'm kidding. I'm not moving that far. I'm actually just moving within town, just to a different house. Hopefully. There's still some right now I'm just homeless. I don't actually have a place to move until things are finalized. I'll keep everyone up to date on that. But 90% moving to another house, but 100% moving out of this house. So that's happening right now as we speak. So yeah, I'll be homeless. Already loaded most of the garage gym stuff into storage unit. Just kept the bare bones. But since I'll be here, I kept more than I normally would. Kept my sandbag and some kettlebells and jump rope and my bike, things like that. Because I can stash my bike at my parents' house. But anyway, other than that, I'm pretty much homeless. So I don't think I'm going to do no gear. I'll be homeless for about a month or 3 weeks, really. I don't think I'm going to do no gear. I think I'm just going to try to do hard to kill with the implements that I have and see how it goes. I think that it'll work out fine. I just won't be able to lift as heavy, when we're doing the percentages, but that is what I'm going to attempt to do during my homelessness.
Nailed it.
Homelessness.
I lasted about 1 month of Endure with the limited equipment that I have. And then it was just on those body geo days, I'll just kind of have to make up my own thing, but that's similar, but not, because before it was I was trying to be almost exact as close as I could, but then I just had to evolve it a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of I'll just run if, I already know what's in the programming. Most of it will work, but some of it won't. And I'll just work around it.
Or since you're the one programming hard to kill, you're just going to get rid of the barbell.
It's hey guys, I'm not going to have anything heavy to lift for the next couple of weeks, so you guys aren't going to see it either.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could. That's always an option. So if you see that, I'm sorry. It's just because I wanted to move again.
Sorry, not sorry.
It makes us all better.
That's it.
Well, speaking of training and hard to kill and all that good stuff, we have a study this week. This might actually be my new favorite study. Top of the list because of a lot of reasons. So we're talking about concurrent training today. The study reviewed is called Impact of Low Volume Concurrent Strength Training Distribution on Muscular Adaptation. And here's why I like it. The study was done on Danish military conscripts, and they performed 3 different concurrent training protocols over 9 weeks. And there were 285 men in this study. And this is where I was going to represent for Ashley. There's 6 women. So women were represented. So it's allowable for it to be my favorite study because it's unbiased. It's just slightly slanted. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so 290 total participants. And that is huge. And the reason I like this study so much is because they looked at 3 different types of concurrent strength training or concurrent training protocols, but also it's a huge data points. A lot of these other studies you can pull on concurrent training, it's we had 12 people, who were falling asleep in astronomy, in college, and we like invited them to come do our study instead. Like that's how most of these things are going. It's really hard to get professional athletes, serious athletes, and that's fine because most of the time I like that for it's the fact that garage gym athletes are not professional athletes. But you want someone who's a little bit more serious when you're trying to look at, okay, what are the true effects of this? And they're military people, but they're not. I feel like military people are probably most in line with a garage gym athlete, if you guys get what I'm saying. Like I wouldn't say like the average Joe, no pun intended, is a garage gym athlete. I would say a garage gym athlete has a more military style physique and fitness level, being able to run and do calisthenics and all these different things. So anyway, I really like just who they were in the study. Now, the training, one group, this was hard for me as I was reading the study because they named one group standard and one group classic.
Yeah, I kept getting those confused too.
That's like the same exact thing to me. If I do misspeak, I'll try and get it laid out right here at the beginning so everyone else knows. But one group did micro training. So they performed 15-minute strength and running sessions that were separated by 2 hours. So that, to me, that's they were doing a 15-minute training, like in the morning, wait 2 hours, and then another 15-minute training. Is that what it sounded like to you guys?
Yeah, it was like only strength for 15 and then or only conditioning for 15, and it was separated by 2 hours with limiting 3 per day.
And so 3 15-minute training sessions per day?
Yeah, it was limited to 3 in a single day.
Yeah, so they were training minimum 30 minutes up to 45 minutes per day, just spread out.
Yeah.
So that I love that idea, this micro training session. I've done stuff like this before, but never for scientific reasons. Then there was the classic training group that performed 30 minutes of running, immediately followed by 30 minutes of lifting, and they did that twice per week. So 30 minutes running and then 30 minutes of lifting twice per week.
Right.
Only twice per week is pretty not that crazy, right?
Well, all three groups are only amassing 2 total hours of training, right? Mm-hmm. And all of them are resistance training and conditioning put together. But all 3 groups are only amassing 2 hours total in the gym.
Got it. And they aren't they still doing other stuff though?
Yeah, it was like 20 hours of military drills and stuff because they're going to whatever training they are.
And so this is like putting training on top of, let's just say, military grunt work.
Right.
Okay, and then the last one was the standard group. They performed 2 60-minute sessions per week, both of which combined running and lifting.
Right.
So if you guys had to break down the difference between classic and standard, what do you think the real difference is there in execution?
I think the classic, it's similar to the micro, where in the micro it's 15 minutes of just conditioning and then 15 minutes of just strength. I think in the classic it's the same, where it's 30 minutes of just conditioning followed by 30 minutes of just strength. Whereas the standard it's an hour-long session and all of it's combined all together. So I don't think there was a line in the sand drawn between conditioning and strength. It was more just all pushed together into one session instead of having like a break, instead of having like all right, we're done conditioning now we're strength. It's just all kind of put together.
Yeah, classic, I think, follow the same type of training breakdown that the mini did. Having actual sets defined, sets and reps defined, and like an even 50-50 split. But the standard, they said it wasn't consistent and it was kind of ebb and flow. It changed each day or each week. So the note I put down next to standard is basically CrossFit. They did CrossFit twice a week.
Yeah, I wonder if that's what they mean, because they actually give some of the programming for micro and classic in they're doing 3 sets of 5 reps, lower body exercise, push exercise, pulling, so on and so forth. And they would do moderate pace running, intervals of 60, 220 seconds, 30-second intervals with 30 seconds rest, so 30-30s. And that was the same for micro and classic. And then standard, goodness gracious, yeah, it's so hard to wrap around my standard was just different. They probably did those things combined, like you're saying.
Yep.
Anyway, we could talk about little points or anything, whatever we want to pull out for it. But I mean, the ultimate takeaway is that you can do it, right? Like it's not that big of a deal. You can do, and this goes in the realm of, I kind of think it's funny, but like higher end aerobic work. And I mainly mean duration, because a lot of these other studies they only look at high intensity, or they only look at like this one parameter or whatever. These people are doing quite a bit of different stuff with we're only hitting two total hours of training per week, and they were still able to increase strength and size, and still get better with their aerobic exercise, whatever they chose to do. So concurrent training works. It's another feather in the cap for concurrent training, but there's a lot more we can unpack from here. What takeaways did you guys have?
I think one of the biggest things to understand is these people are still also going through military training. You know what I mean? Like, this is just kind of, and I think that was when you first look at the study, it might kind of throw you off a little bit, but you have to understand, like, they were throwing, like, it's just a specific concurrent training intervention on top of regular military training, which is like basically calisthenics. It's basically all they were doing was calisthenics. And so you've got like 20 hours worth of calisthenics stretched over a week that they're doing on top of, the concurrent training intervention, which a lot of that is conditioning as well. So they're getting very little strength work, but even that very little strength work was enough variance to bring about strength gains. You know what I mean? And so that's kind of, to me, that was the biggest point, was even with all of this other aerobic work that they're doing and calisthenics work that they're doing outside the gym, this little bit of strength intervention was still enough to see a strength gain.
Yeah, I think a lot of this could be a good or bad thing for the study, was that there weren't exactly experienced lifters or experienced athletes. They were active, they were in the military, but they weren't like used to lifting, so that's kind of why the volume and everything was down. But it was still the two main ones that saw the improvements were the mini or micro. I keep
micro.
Getting those. Now I'm getting those confused.
Micro.
The micro and the classic were the ones that improved the most versus over the standard, because, and I think that's, and we've gone over studies in the past that say, if you want to improve on certain emphasis, then do that first or do that separate. And that's what they did, was one before the other. And I think at the classic, if they flip-flopped it to do strength first and then conditioning, they would have seen even more results for that one. But even with all of their military training and doing conditioning first, strength results went up.
Yeah, and do you guys check out that chart on the strength findings between micro, classic, and standard?
Yeah. So
it has the percent change of each, like pull-ups. And what's interesting, so they looked at pull-ups, knee extensor strength, elbow flexor strength, and hand grip strength. Interesting strength measures. I mean, you have pull-ups, you have, hand grip, I think that's super important. Anyway, if you look at the percent change as opposed to like how many they got better, the biggest for pull-ups and knee extension, the biggest change was in the classic training group. So classic, that was is classic CrossFit
minute.
The random one?
No, that was the 30-minute. Yeah.
See, I knew it was going to be a hard one to do today. So the 30-30, the worst was standard.
Right.
Which was the more, what we're referring to as maybe more CrossFit.
The random, yeah.
Yeah, the random. And then micro didn't have, there's only one area that it didn't meet or get close to the classic group, and that was in pull-ups. It still had to change, but micro training was the only group that increased in every area.
Yeah, every parameter.
Yep. Every parameter. So I find that very interesting. Because there's no reason you couldn't execute our programming in a micro way, micro training session execution way. I've done this before when I've gotten busy. I did this a lot in the military. I had no theories behind it or anything. It was just a time thing. I would do like 30 minutes or less of like like some rowing intervals or whatever in the morning, like because I had a rower at home, and then I would go work, and then at lunch, you know, I'd have an hour for lunch, but I need to actually eat in that window. But I'd also try and train in that window at the gym on base. So I would do like just a quick 20 to 30 minute strength session, eat, and then back to work. And I did that for a long time, you know, and it worked out pretty well. And I haven't done that as much now because, to be honest, it would just be might be more inconvenient with my current, like just having to.
A lot of showers. That was my
Yeah,
first
it's a
thought
lot
when I
of
thought of the
showering.
micro
Yeah.
ones. I was like, man, these guys must be showering 3 times a day.
Yeah, maybe in the winter I could do it. Like if I worked out at like 5 or 6 a.m. and then just didn't shower, and like, because winter I'm not like, summertime I'm basically walking out of a pool from my garage, but winter's not as bad. And then I could just like, you know, whatever, hang out with the kids, drink some coffee, do the normal morning stuff, getting them ready for the day, and then back in the gym essentially 2 hours later, and then just shower after the whole thing. But yeah, that's logistically right now, that's a lot of showers and stuff. But I just find it interesting that they were really in my opinion, the winner, because they got better in every area.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think this is the 5th or 6th or whatever concurrent training study that we've done, something like that. So for people that are listening, they're like, you have friends that you're asking them, all they do is lift weights, and you're asking them, hey, why don't you, work in some runs? Why don't you do a little conditioning here and there? And they tell you, I don't want to lose my gains, bro. Then just call them lazy, because these studies basically say that you're lazy.
What was it I said the other day? And it needs to be said publicly now. I just randomly thought of it.
The new EO3 motto?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, you can bring that out if you want.
I have it right here. I saved it as a note on my computer. We were thinking about changing this as the motto for, instead of like, I don't know, like a tagline or something like that.
Yeah.
So we've been calling powerlifters lazy, endurance athletes weak, and CrossFitters random since 2011. Concurrent training is the way.
We already batched 2 of those today, so there we go.
Who's not offended?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just true though. Like most lifters, and it's okay. Like do what you love, like, but like Joe said, don't make an excuse. I'm perfectly fine if you're like a hardcore power lifter and you're like, dude, I just like lifting. I'm kind of lazy. I don't want to. I know power lifters like that, who very like, no, dude, I want to eat some donuts, drink some beer, and lift heavy things. Like I'm good. Like that's what I enjoy. And I'm like, cool. They're not trying to claim any sort of scientific, I'm not going to get stronger and all this stuff. They just don't want to do it. Endurance athletes, I think, to be honest, calling them weak is, I don't know. They have come a long way. I would say the endurance community. It was almost like I've heard stories of Lance Armstrong, like not willing to do one push-up during his training, anything that could add an ounce of mass to his upper body, because he wanted to be like as frail as possible leading up to the race. But their endurance athletes have just not been a fan of strength training for a long time. But I really feel like every endurance athlete or coach I've worked with in recent years, that's not really the case anymore. There's some sort of strength training. It's not what we would do specifically, but they're getting on the boat. And then we don't need to get into CrossFit being random. That's it's a can of worms. Doesn't need to be discussed.
They have their own issues they're going through right now.
Yeah,
let's not take shots at them.
We don't need to kick them while they're down. But they got that new CEO, right? That's an owner. I do think that's a positive move for CrossFit. I think that's good. So, you guys have anything else from this study? Any takeaways or points you want to make?
No.
Go.
Concurrent training. It's the way. Yeah.
And definitely, like, if you guys want to go to the show notes and check out this study, like I said, it's probably my new favorite just because of the size and the different ways they tested stuff. I think it's really cool. It's a great study. All right, let's get into the topic. So we are covering questions that we normally ask other people on the Garage Gym Athlete podcast. So today, the hardest workout you've ever done. So Kyle, what is the hardest workout you have ever done?
So I had to try to narrow this down a little bit. I'm going to say, as a disclaimer, the hardest thing I've ever done is obviously Spartan Beast, as far as physical effort that's the hardest thing that I don't know. I don't know that you call that a workout. That's more of an event, a competition.
Events are special because you like have to rise. You have to like go past 100% sometimes with those.
But that's the hardest thing I've ever done. Now, as far as a workout, if you go back to season 1 of the Garage Gym Athlete podcast, back in the day, the early days when I was just an athlete and not a coach, I was on season 1 as an athlete, did an athlete interview. And I talked about this workout that I couldn't even remember all the specifics of it at the time. But it was one that some friends and I did in this dude's garage. He built a garage to do CrossFit, but I think it was it was like a birthday WOD or something. Like it was one of the guys' birthdays or something. We had put together this workout to do. And the only thing that I can remember now is it was like a to hell and back work rep scheme, where you work your way up to a certain amount of reps and then you work your way all the way back down. It was, but it wasn't like taking rest or anything like that. And it was an insane amount of reps because there were like 4 of us doing it.
1 to 100 back down to 1.
Yeah, something like that. So we were all like splitting all the reps between, amongst the 4 of us or whatever. And it was what I do remember. 2 of the things that we had to do were air squats. And I don't remember how many we were having to split, but we also had to do air-dyne calories. And it was like,
so are you saying it's the same workout and you still can't remember what it was?
I still, no, I really, honestly, I think my brain has just blocked out like what happened during this workout because it was so horrible. But
you should try it again. You're so much more fit now.
He doesn't know it.
I don't know what to do. I have no clue, but I do. I remember there were a lot of air-dyne calories thrown in there, that we were having to split up amongst the 4 of us. So that was, I'm pretty sure I puked after that one, which didn't make for a good birthday celebration. But anyway, yeah, it was traumatic. It was awful, but I don't even remember all the details. That's how bad it was. So
also, I started to work out once. I blacked out, and I'm going to have to go with that's the hardest because I've never blacked out before. So
anyway, that was before I was a Garage Gym athlete. So
yeah, it might be easy now.
Might be, yeah. Probably,
just another workout.
Yeah, it's mostly, it's like Tuesday on Hard to Kill now or something. But at the time, it was awful.
Joe, what do you got? I don't know if I've ever heard you respond to this question before.
I don't think I have.
I've weighed in a few times on like the Facebook group comments and stuff like that, but it's any workout that forces my pacing that I just can't have any sort of it. Yeah, I can't do anything about it. And it's the one that always sticks out that I'll never want to try again is Calzoo.
Yeah,
and that was
a horrible one.
Yeah, it's 100 heavy thrusters, and every minute on the minute you're doing 5 burpees. So like thrusters gas you, and then every minute you have to drop down and do 5 burpees. Then you got to do some thrusters, or else you're going to be here for a while. And if you take a minute off, then guess what? Those reps still aren't getting done. So yeah.
So I actually remember doing that one. I did that one in college. It was quite a while ago. I was just looking up. I had gotten into CrossFit in college, and like I was just Googling what is the hardest CrossFit workout in existence, and that's what I wanted to do. And I found it in the forum somewhere. Someone mentioned Calzoo, and I was like, okay, I'll give it a try. And I remember that was hard, like really hard. And there were minutes where I was not doing any thrusters.
Yep.
I was just waiting to do the next set of burpees, like twice.
Yeah, it's like you do your 5 burpees, and I'm just going to stay on the ground here until next minute. I'm just going to go feel till do my next burpees.
I'm really interested to try that one again. I really haven't done I think, since. Man, it's been over a decade. It's been a long time. So Calzoo?
Yeah. I don't think it's ever going to change.
Mine changes probably depending on what day you ask me.
Well, I think Bambi is going to take it. Because I blacked out halfway when you explained it to us.
Yeah, that one's brutal. But mine, it depends on what day you ask me. There are just memorable workouts. I'll give one more recent history because I think that's important, and then go to like one of my top, like in my memory, this is the hardest workout I've ever done. In recent history, it was in the winter doing Murph. this past winter. So like, less than a year ago, but it was very cold outside by very cold Texas standards, meaning it was probably like, I think it was around 30 degrees, which is very cold for Texas.
Mm-hmm.
It was raining, but not cold enough to like snow or ice because it had probably not been that cold the day before. It's probably like 70 the day before. And so super cold, super wet, it raining and doing Murph, and very, very windy. And that's what made the awfulness. So it wasn't necessarily the workout. And a lot of it has to do with the mentality too, because if you catch me in like an optimal mood to do hard things, I'm going to like smile in the face of like awfulness. I'll just be like, yeah, let's do it. That was a bad day. And I didn't want to do Murph. I didn't want to work out in that weather. Like there was no part of me that wanted to do anything. And so the second I would start my run, the wind just is against me for, basically a half mile, because then I just turn around and come back. And I was like so mad and like cold and frustrated the whole way down there. I honestly was like, I'm just not going to do it. Like, I'm just not. I'm going to, but the second that's the whole meet yourself, right? That conversation comes up and I'm like, okay, great. Nice to meet you. Let's keep going, but still it was just an awful experience. So I'd say it was the mentality and the weather that made that one bad. I don't even remember my time. It was probably crappy and not worth discussing. It wasn't hard. It wasn't one of those where I pushed myself and it was, made it difficult. Anyway, but the hardest workout I've ever done is this Marine recon. My brother's friend was Marine recon, basically Marine special operations. And
you wrote an article about that like 4 or 5 years ago.
So if you were to ask me right now, Kyle, like I forgot the workout, I would have forgotten it, but I wrote it down the next day. I was like, I want to remember that. That was awful. And so I did it. So I think the article is called How Marine Recon Get Down. So you guys can go Google that, Google that phrase with like Into 3 Fitness and you'll for sure find it. Because I've only ever written one article with Marine Recon in it. And I can't remember the full workout. I could pull it up, but it was just a combination of a lot of pull-ups and body weight. It's basically all body weight stuff. Nothing overly crazy about it. And to be honest, I've done the workout since, talking about, Kyle's like, it was not a big deal. And it's not a big deal. It's like it's not that hard. It's not that crazy. But at that time, I was not prepared for that style of training. I hadn't been doing concurrent training. I'd basically just been a lifter at that point. And it was also the dude's brother leading the intensity of it. Because if you just wrote that workout down and gave it to me, I'd be like, yeah, okay, whatever. Talk about pacing, Joe. But he wouldn't let me stop moving, period. And that's what made it so brutal. And I just remember, the reason I remember it being the hardest workout I ever did is because I've had heat exhaustion basically twice in my life. And this was not one of those times, but I felt it like it was coming. And I this is the only time because we did it at a normal gym, I went and got in my car and turned the air conditioning on and just laid there, put the seat back and laid there for I don't even remember how long, at least a half hour before I did anything and went anywhere. I didn't want them to see that. I was like, I'm going to go in my car and just try and recover. I felt recovered enough to where I was able to drive home, and I was super sore and it sucked. But I remember that just being one of the hardest I've ever been pushed in my life. But it took another person, to do that.
They do that,
They do that.
Those other people.
Those Trampuses of the world. Just kidding.
All right. Workout. What do we have? Walk the plank?
Yup.
That this week. You got it pulled up, Joe?
Yep. So walk the plank. It is a Zercher walk with a barbell. So Zercher is arms crossed, basically bear hugging the barbell in front of you. 10 rounds for max distance each round. Weight is 50 to 60% of your body weight. And your rest between rounds is 2 minutes, but that 2 minutes rest is in the plank position.
Oh, wow. I haven't done this one in a while. It's so
it's fun to get your your like reminder revelations and like your facial, there's just a response like, oh man, what was I thinking that day?
This is what I've done to other people.
Well, I've normally done all of them recently. I mean, most of the time because we program them over and over again, and I typically do Meet Yourself Saturday. But when I take a year off of doing these workouts because of Murph, and they're just starting to come up in my rotation again because I'm on the programming, I'm just like, oh gosh, like so awful sounding. So yeah, it's like memory jogging. You get hit you got to go as far as you can. And then when you take a break, it's 2 minutes in the front leaning rest. So anyway, what tips do you guys have? It's a pretty crappy one. You're going to say, don't go far.
No, you should still go pretty far. Just, know that you have 10 rounds of it. So if you're new to Zercher walk, start on the lighter end and warm up to that. You don't want to hurt your back or anything like that. I haven't done this one. I don't know how it's going to affect like the crooks of your arms, elbows, whatever. Just holding it. Some people do padding on that. Yeah. If you can, rack it so you don't have to lean down and like Zercher deadlift it or do something like that. Put it up on somewhere so that you can just hug it and go.
Unless you have an actual yoke.
Yeah.
You did some yoke work with me once.
Yeah, once. Literally.
Well, you're coming back in town soon.
3 houses ago.
I won't have any of my equipment. Damn.
Yeah.
Now we'll be able to access it.
By the time I get to Texas, I think you might have a house again.
Oh,
We'll
good.
see.
Great.
We'll see which one happens first.
Those are good tips.
My tip with this one is enjoy it because it's fun. I enjoy this one. I like it.
You're lifting heavy things and moving them around.
Exactly. That's my thing. I would say padding on the barbell is not allowed.
All right, there it is.
That's part of it. You're supposed to get uncomfortable. You're supposed to meet yourself. Do understand, though, especially if you're new to Zerchers, and we don't do Zerchers very much, so people are going to be new to it, and people are also not going to be used to it, even those who have done them before. You're going to get some funky feelings in your elbows, on the inside of your elbows, not the outside, because that's where you're holding that barbell. The last time I did this, it was like I don't really know how to describe it, but it was kind of like poochy, I guess is what you would say. Just the skin there was kind of weird.
Poochy?
It kind of felt weird to touch it afterwards. The day afterwards.
I wish we
it felt kind of weird.
I got Joe's face recorded when Kyle said Poochie.
It's fun. It's funny. But anyway, Poochie skin. Just be prepared for
what
it.
Does that
after
mean?
all those Zerchers.
I
don't know. It's like puffy.
There,
that like your arm is kind of puffy.
Like swollen. It's like from the trauma.
Well, it wasn't. It's not like I'd think it's swelling. It's poochy.
It's got a little pooch.
Dude, it's not swollen. It's poochy. Come on.
Yeah. I think
Let's get medical here.
I think swollen is a little more traumatic than poochy. So I wouldn't use the word swollen, but puffy.
Just churching it up a little bit.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay, so my tips are just it says 10 rounds for max distance. So max distance is far.
That's a good explanation. Okay.
Is a far, like you should feel like you have to put it down. Not be like, you know what? Here, that's good. That's a good spot right there. Let's just put it down. Max distance. Now that distance might get shorter each round, as it would like if you were doing the Iron Mile. You know, you can only get that first bout with the Iron Mile of you going out. If you don't put it down, or if you do put it down, I mean, is normally the furthest. And that's how it should probably be. You should probably make it very far, put it down a little bit shorter each time. But hey, push yourself. Try and get as far as you can. So just really focus on that max thing, or else it's not going to be a Meet Yourself Saturday. It's just going to be some of these Meet Yourself Saturdays, if you don't intentionally try hard, it's really easy. Like what if you just pretended like 10 meters was your max?
Yeah.
I guess not. I mean, I guess you're still spending 20 minutes in the plank, right? But anyway, this one should wreck your core. If you are confused about what we're really training here, it's going to wreck your core. There's a lot of isometric contraction of your abdominals here. And you should be trying to keep those abdominals tight. don't be like, oh, Jared said it's going to wreck my core, so I'm going to just try and keep it all like loose. So maybe, no, that would be the opposite. We don't need your spine and your organs to try and stabilize your spine or itself. We want your abdominals to do that for you. So keeping your back tight and your body upright along with your abdominals super tight and contracted the whole time will keep you safe in this workout. Also, you're going to get hunched over a little bit with your shoulder blades, which is going to be okay, but don't let it just like cave in. Try and contract your shoulder blades back a little bit as well when you're holding that weight. And if you can't do that, that means your back is not strong enough to contract with the weight that you're holding. So lighten the load. So test that out before you get going. Load it up. We have a recommendation there, but if you load it up and you're like, I can't move my shoulder blades backwards, that is too much weight for you. So try and put enough weight to where you can contract your shoulder blades back. So the perfect position: upright torso, shoulder blades slightly retracted, lower back tight, and core tight. That way you're keeping yourself as safe as possible. And if you're in a really stable position like that, the only uncomfortable part of it from there would be basically a barbell making your arms poochy, because that's the only thing that's left there to give you any pain. Other than that, you might like give out, like your abs might start burning or whatever, but that's fine because we're talking max distance. This will hardly affect your legs at all. If you think that's what we're doing, it just won't. Like there's some good stabilization stuff going on with weighted steps in general, but that's not what we're targeting here. So this one will wreck your core, and you should expect it to. Probably be pretty sore the next day in that realm.
I would also say that this is not 2 minutes rest and get as much plank as you can in 2 minutes. This is 2 minutes of accumulated plank in rest. Am I correct on that? That's how I did it the last time anyway. Like I had like a timer in front of me, and like if I had to rest, like if I had to put my knees down, like I stopped the timer and I accumulated 2 minutes of rest in the plank.
I agree with that.
Instead of just like, don't just have the timer for 2 minutes and whatever plank you get in that 2 minutes. No, you need to accumulate 2 minutes in that position. So if you need to come out of that position,
if it was just a 2 minute running clock and you only did like 15 seconds of the plank, then yeah. So I agree. 2 minutes accumulated in the plank. Otherwise, you're not resting. I don't know what to call it. If you're resting, if you're not planking or walking, I think you're just cheating. So you really should only be doing those two things. Is that everything? Are we good? Covered it all.
Yeah.
Covered it all. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for this podcast. If you are not one of our athletes, you can fix that problem. You can go to garagegymathlete.com and follow the best concurrent training you can find on the internet. So we study it, we implement it, we utilize it. We are the best at concurrent training. And if you want to experience that, then go to garagegymathlete.com, start a free trial for all of our athletes who are experiencing that concurrent training and are a part of the community. Thank you so much for being around and sticking around. We appreciate each and every single one of you, but that is it for this week. Catch you guys next time.
Thanks for listening to the Garage Gym Athlete podcast. If you want to learn more, go to garagegymathlete.com. You can learn about our training. Let us send you a copy of our book, The Garage Gym Athlete, or you can even get featured on the Garage Gym Athlete podcast. Thanks for listening.